If you're using Claude and it keeps forgetting or not doing what you want, or it's going off rail or behaving differently than it did yesterday, this video is for you, because this is a recurring topic that comes up in our community over and over. And that's why I'm making this video, to maybe give you some more perspective why these things happen. So if you can relate to this sentence, AI can be the most intelligent and the most stupid assistant in the world, then this video is for you. Well, just for context, every week inside my ICOR, we launch a poll. Here in this case, it was where does your AI workflow most often break down and slow you down? And there is AI forgets context, and I was even the person clicking this one, right? It happens to me too, and I want to talk about what I'm doing against it. And the thing that I think is the best comment here for this video to look at is this one. AI forgets context 100%. I feel like I'm Larry's auditor, babysitter, and audit his decisions and or realign him. So Larry is the agent in our myPKA folder. So if you watch previous videos from me, we have this local folder, myPKA, and there we have everything arranged. So when AI or Claude launches inside this folder, it reads this claude.md file, and that initiates him as Larry. All right. So it knows I'm Larry, and he's the orchestrator, knowing about team members inside this folder who are specialists in specific things they can do. So how I'm working with this folder, and thousands of our members too, is they just talk to Larry and he's orchestrating the work between the different agents, work according to the team knowledge, where we have SOPs, guidelines, work streams. All right. So this is a demo folder here. That's why there's not so much. But if you look into my folder, there would be hundreds of different SOPs and work streams. Those are the things that you get out of the box if you download it for free. Just for context, this is what this is all about. And that's what he's referring here to. But in this video, I will show you also without the folder why Claude might not behave the way that you want it to. So he often deviates from his agents.md. So we have also agents.md files in there instead of claude.md to keep it LLM agnostic. And he asked me open-ended questions that he has the answers for already. When I point the answers, he basically says, oops, sorry, you're right, let me update, and so on. I think many of us can relate to this, and you see this is a long thread where other members are also sharing their experience and how they work against it and the insights that they have. That's not what I'm going into. If you want to check it out, join us in my ICOR and read the details there, or join a discussion. What I want to show you today is what is the reasons that AI varies so much from day to day and from person to person, because what's always missing in these discussions is context about what model do you use. There's not, he mentioned that he turned off Claude's memory, so he's using Claude, but what are you using? Claude, Codex, Gemini, whatnot. So this is already a big thing. What AI do you actually use in the first place? And then there's also a lack of understanding what model do they use, right? Do they use Haiku? Do they use Sonnet, Opus, Fable, right? For these things of tasks. And that's what we want to look into today, also with where I show you proof. There's a vast difference between the different models. And then we will dive even deeper, because it's not only the model that you pick, but also the settings that you pick for the models that make the things differentiate. And that's why it's so hard to say, okay, we all have the same folder that Claude is working in, but it always matters how you let Claude work inside the folder, in what shape and form. So to explain to you this principle, inside our membership, we have this Venn diagram, all right, where our members can actually search for the tools that they are using, and then they can lay out the tools on this Venn diagram, and each circle represents one specific part of a productivity system. That's a tool we have for a long time. I built this 1 year ago, and I remember very well how tough it was to make an interactive Venn diagram like this. And that's why I thought, let's not recreate this, but actually make something different. Let's make square corners on the side of a Venn diagram. And let's see what AI can do. And therefore, we will use the different models now. So let's dive into this. And here you go. I just made this very simple, very generalistic, not much details, not much instructions prompt to say create a 4-circle Venn diagram, but the circles have straight lines like a square on the outside of the Venn diagram, and only the side facing inside and overlap with us, so there's even a typo, are round with full circles. So there's even a misunderstanding here, maybe could cause a misunderstanding. So 1/2 of each Venn diagram section is half square, half circle. Create an artifact, again typo, to show me this. It's bad grammar, it's spelling issues, it's a very broad what to do, but it shows also how well AI understands me in the first place, what I'm talking to. And that's the beauty about working inside a folder, because the more and more I use the myPKA folder, the more Larry learns what's my intention behind my request. And this is something that he then translates into proper prompts for my agents based on all the context in my live folder. And that's what you do when you download this for free and you get started with myPKA. You would just start working with it, and the system starts learning because he saves all this information in this folder. And this is what the members are referring here in this discussion. He keeps forgetting. You said something in the past and he never looks it up again. However, this test I didn't do with the folder first, and I did it with the folder later on to see some comparisons. But one big issue when you compare models or anything is always the fact that when I watch these YouTube videos where people compare, hey, that's what Fable can do versus Opus and so on, they always run just one prompt and they think this is comparable, the first output they get from these prompts. And well, I was a validation expert in my day job in corporate back in the time, and to validate something, you have to run it 3 times, and only if you get 3 times the same result and the results are consistent, then it's validated that the system is running according to plan. And that's something you will never get, and I show you in this video too. If you run the same prompt twice in the exact same settings, you will get complete different outcomes. And because the interpretation of this varies each time, the model has a cold start session looking into this prompt. And that's something many people forget, and they watch these videos and, oh man, it's amazing how Fable versus Opus works and all these things. But if you really would do a proper comparison, you would run the same prompt 3 times through Opus and 3 times through Fable, which probably is overkill just to prove a point. And I get this. And that's what we see here too. I didn't run this 3 times, and yet we still see big differences. So here's Haiku. And with this prompt, this is what I got. Okay, it's not a Venn diagram at all. And this is what he said here, what he created. Then I said, okay, but they need to overlap too. And then he tried to overlap, and it was just impossible for Haiku to make a Venn diagram. So that's what you see with the cheapest model, what you get when you have something mathematic that you're asking about. I'm using Haiku to look things up, to search quickly something. That's where I'm using Haiku, but also usually not switching actively. I stick in general with Opus. And but let's keep moving. What is Sonnet doing? Sonnet is doing this. That's our Venn diagram. Okay, so you see, people say, you can use Sonnet over Opus and it does it all great and so on. But when I use Sonnet inside my folder, I need to be aware it is still a lot less efficient and trustworthy compared to Opus. And what I want to extrapolate here from my experience creating this Venn diagram is the fact that if it struggles to understand what I'm saying here and what a Venn diagram is, and maybe not looking up properly how to make it mathematically correct and so on, then how the heck can I trust this model that it organizes everything properly inside my folder here where I have a PKM, a personal knowledge management, where there are journals in there, where there's my whole life in there. And whenever I share something, I expect it to properly connect everything together. We have wiki links in there. Everything is interconnected. And so here, this is the app that I built to visualize this. And here you go, this is where... This is it. So there's a journal entry that they create for me. There's cross connections. And here is the map that shows me how everything is interconnected. But it always just shows me a representation of what is inside the folder. So all I do, I share my insights with AI who's working in this folder, Larry, and he recognizes this, calls Pen, the journal entry agent, and he creates a journal entry out of what I shared and cross connects everything between my key elements, my family. There's a CRM in there with the people and so on. Again, it's a demo account, but here, and everything gets cross connected. And this is something I need to trust on. And we go to Opus. This is what Opus comes up. See, same prompt. And here I have a great interpretation of what I was looking for. And here I have now even, sliders to change these things and the radius and the spread. So Opus not only understands what a Venn diagram is, but there are also different parameters that actually decide how much space the overlaps have, and this allows me now to change these things to my liking and have it now in the square format or something in between and so on. So what a huge jump this is from Sonnet and obviously from Haiku. And this is all ran inside the Claude chat. So now let's go to Fable. Because you would say, okay, this looks already correct. Well, if this is what Fable made, and I thought, this is amazing because I didn't even think about that I can position it. I started to draw the Venn diagram on a paper to see how I would, draw these these squares, and it turned it. This is amazing. It rotated it by 90 degrees to make it this. So that's the most efficient placement that I could wish of when I think about a square and a circle. It perfectly picked up that it is half square, half circle, and it made these overlaps. And that's just perfect. So this was one simple prompt, no additional context. All right. So to me, even that there are no sliders, this was out of the box the right thing. That I would say, man, this is amazing. I'm using this and nothing else. And now I could say, can you create sliders if I need it? Because this is not something I was asking for. I never asked, I want to have sliders. I want to have dynamic. So Opus was just overly eager to please what I'm looking for, to make it visually stunning, while Fable just got the point what I'm asking for. And this is what I recognize in the day-to-day work too. So now we need to talk about something else. It's not only the model, but it's also the effort. So if you go here, you can actually change the effort a model is using. High is the one that I usually use. I use a lot of extra or X high if you're inside the terminal. I usually don't use max. I don't need this at all for most of the work that I'm doing. And obviously we have also the old models, and we are not doing a comparison today with these. So now I used Haiku with Cowork to see a difference there, and in extended thinking. And it was X high, but it's no longer showing here for some reason. And this is what it came up with. So even if I max out the lowest model, it's still not able to get how the heck can I overlap these different containers there or different areas. This is insane, right? So that should really tell you if you have a question that is very broad, the model is impossible to do. I'm pretty sure if I give it the instructions how to build this, that Haiku eventually would do this too, but it's just not doing it out of the box. And here's Opus 2, which is essentially just the same thing that I did here, with the same settings and I just ran it a second time to see if it comes up with the same result. And it's not the case. And that's my point, right? So I ran it through the same model with the same settings twice, the same prompt, and I get complete different outcomes. Look, and now look at this one. Okay, it's a complete different version of circles and how it's distributed. Also, this thing is, less good. So you could have by accident an amazing, when I see people program these games, you can have an amazing game out of it, or you can have some stupid thing that doesn't even work. With the same prompt, with the same model, just on a different machine. And that's why to us it's so important to have this folder and this team knowledge and these guidelines and SOPs, because if I work through this now, I can tell Larry to create standard operating procedures, work streams, guidelines to have a consistent outcome each time, and even hire an agent who is working only on creating Venn diagrams, for example. This is how I can now more or less ensure that the outcome will have a persistent quality, same design choices, all these things. Because how this works is when I have an expert for Venn diagrams, Larry will look into the team, search for the expert for the Venn diagram, and inside these experts, they have an agents.md file, and this is just pointing this expert to the documentation here to read the SOP about how to create a Venn diagram, the mathematics behind it, the things that were the insights from the previous sessions where we got to this point. So I would keep iterating with one model until I have it as it is. And then I tell the team, create now a documentation out of it. And that's where it's important, if you use this folder, we have a close session command that you use with /, which is not available in the chat, because here we're in the chat, we have no folder attached. And this will write down everything that we learned from the session. The team will create journal entries for themselves. They have their own journal. They will create lessons. They will create session logs and so on, just to write down what they learned from this one session. And it's another thing they can get back to when I said, well, you created a perfect Venn diagram last time. Why is it broken now? Why do you go off rail? Now they can go through the session logs in order to find this out and give you insights why this is working. And usually, as he was written, starts apologizing. Oh, we are sorry, we went off rail. This happens every time. And that's why there's another crucial thing you need to keep in mind. Ask the team, when you have something like this, to create code and scripts that guarantee that the outcome will be always the same. So whenever possible, instead of having just a prompt that you keep giving, a prompt snippet, you look at, or let the AI look at the whole workflow, what you create there, and let identify different steps that could be pure code to ensure and guarantee that these steps at least run through code, because there is no left and right. There's no going off rail because it is mathematics it's going through, versus having a prompt, giving it to a model that's just predicting what you want as an outcome. This will go always different. There will be always variations in there. So if it is really critical for you that something always is exactly the same outcome, you need to use code, and you can tell your AI to create this code for you. And then the agent in the future can use this code to work through what you're asking for. And that's what you might know as Claude skills. That's also a combination of code snippets and scripts together with that the AI can work to have consistent outcome. So I made some more tests here. We have Opus with Cowork, and I just checked if there is any difference. And again, I cannot really say, is it Cowork that made a better thing, or, I can switch dark and light mode. Again, nothing that I asked for. A lot of things that Opus adds here that is just token consuming, because if it just creates what I was asking for, this would not be the thing. But again, I like that touch that I have these sliders here, and this is actually pretty good. And now we are here in Cowork, where I have my folder attached, all right? So here I had the folder attached, but it seems it's not the case. No, it picked up my folder, which is this one. And this is my personal folder. See all these agents and all this. And again, I was very vague when it came to this. and this is what it come out. And this looks very similar to the very first version that we got here. See? So you cannot really say that the folder made any difference because there was no context needed. I could have said, look at our Venn diagram inside my ICOR, figure out how it's built, and how could we actually change this into squares. That's where then the folder becomes useful because it has all the context, how to access my ICOR and so on. So this is what we get out here. And what I also tested is Claude Code inside the desktop. So here we have the empty folder. And here I have the same thing, and we are in Claude Code, and you see it already works through this in a different way with more coding style things, and it created this artifact, and this is what it came up with. It understood how to make the overlap. This is the square that we get out of it. I have a slider there again. I can have full square, so it made both options now in code. Okay, so that's a nice touch here that I can actually switch, and it gives me a lot more information about how this worked, how it calculated the square. And this is just what I prefer using is Claude Code. Look at this. I love this style that I see now perfectly explained how this works, and that's my day-to-day use inside myPKA. So let's see. I used myPKA. Here he says, I'm Larry. See, just by talking here, he reads the Claude.md file and identifies himself now as Larry. He works through the things here. And then I have even specific instructions how he should output things. And that's why we have this block here. So that's what you can tell your AI too. Make sure moving forward that we always have an output like this, or make simple language or whatnot. And this is what it came up with. Wow, animated. I have here a slider. It uses the myICOR, the incline branding. So this is actually our brand design that it uses now for this artifact. Everything is like we have it in the membership. And here we go. See, it's much more dynamic to do these things. It's perfectly working. I can switch these off. I have it now this way. I can switch back on the labels, but it sticks to these squares. And there is also no option to change this. So again, it has these descriptions, how it did it, how it calculated the things, the numbers, how the formulas are, and so on. I prefer the styling. Obviously, I could now tell my team to make a better version. And even that it didn't provide me now two versions, to me, that's the best outcome. It has the best styling, it has the best visuals, it get the point, it made the Venn diagram, and for me, I'm just one prompt away to just say as a follow-up, look into my ICOR, how we build it in there, use this Venn diagram and do it this way. And keep in mind, I used Opus here. I would have been curious using Fable too with this folder, but it's something I haven't done in this video, and I think the point comes across what I wanted to tell you inside the video. So first of all, it really depends what AI you're using, Claude, Codex, or Gemini. And then within the LLM, what model do you use? So in Claude, it would be Haiku, Sonnet, Opus, Fable, right? And then inside the model, it's important what effort do you choose. So if you're using the terminal, you can use /command effort, and there you can set the effort too. And in the desktop, you just saw today how you can select it there. So the effort level is really important too. And then last but not least, it's important how well the instructions are written. How detailed is your prompt, what you want, and how clear it is the things that you have written down. So it will never work using a local folder like I showed you inside Claude chat in the browser. That's nonsense, because then you upload the folder, it starts working with the folder, but it never updates the folder on your drive. And that's why you at least need to use something like Cowork or Claude Code on Claude desktop to select the folder there, so it can actually act on the files and create new files inside the folder. So I hope this gives you some more perspective. I'm also struggling every now and then with things going off rail, and that's where I'm compensating it. But the key is really to understand your system very well, to understand the concepts and workflows behind how you're using AI. And that's what we are teaching in my ICOR, because with this understanding, you are much better in delegating work to AI and understanding if this goes off rail and why does it go off rail. And our last advice here is ask your team. What we saw inside the community, write the same thing to your AI. Ask why do you keep forgetting? Why is it that I told you the third time the same thing and you still keep forgetting? How can we improve the documentation? How can we use code so everything runs on autopilot for you, that you really stick to the plan next time? Let me know in the comments below how you compensate these issues. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe now so I can catch you up in the next video.